Hey guys, Q here, and this is my video for how to win Vampyr like a coward. The first thing we're going to go over is safe areas. Now, at different parts throughout the game, you will have safe areas that for some reason enemies will not go into. Sometimes they're indoors, sometimes they're outside, but as soon as you pass the threshold for a certain area, the enemy will not follow you. And this is a great way to get off a few hits on an enemy and then run back to the safe area, and they immediately lose interest. Now, these can be towns or certain rooms, as you can see here in the theater. For some reason, this particular room is a safe area. Next, we're going to go over a simple concept of getting above enemies. Now, there are certain skills, blood skills and range skills, that if you use them, they actually gain blood. Even if you don't have one of those, you can use these skills from above the enemies until you run out of blood, and then you can simply run away, go find some rats which do respawn, re-up your blood, and then keep going at it. And this is another way to get past regular enemies and clear out the areas and make yourself a good path. As you can see, as I'm using these attacks, the enemies just stay still. And if they don't stay still, sometimes they'll walk below where you're walking, so you're just going to have to sit and wait for them to leave again before you can lock on and use your ability again. Alternatively, some of them, especially the shooters, will shoot from a distance while you're picking them off. So you want to make sure, if possible, that you have some sort of railing in between you and them. But this is only relevant to the ones that are specific shooters, either the burning arrows or the riflemen. Next, we're going to go over the most useful of AI manipulations, and that is the sweet spot. So what you're going to see here is, after you get the attention of some enemies and you've cleared a path to those enemies, you can run back all the way to where the AI reaches their threshold, their limit as far as they can go. Now, it's more than that, where if you run past their area, they're going to turn around. But if you find the sweet spot, and this is different for different types of enemies, but if you find the sweet spot, you can continue to use your blood abilities, and this will cause them to turn around and look at you, but will not allow them to attack you. So certain areas, if you run back to a certain point, they'll turn around and they'll keep walking away until you gain their attention again. Then they'll run at you and attack you. However, if you use this strategy and you find it goes in there at the end of their area, the limit of their area, and you are a certain distance away from the enemy, they'll effectively just stand still and let you hit them until they're gone. Now, the next useful tip for manipulating the enemy AI is the threshold. Now, this works really well with opened doors. So if you have a door between yourself and some enemies, one of two things will happen. One, in the video like this, you'll open the door and you'll see the enemies still don't spot you. So what you're going to do is you're going to step back a step or two and then just start going ham on them. And usually when you're at this case, the door will stay open and just let you hit them. Alternatively, what can sometimes happen is the door will close. And if the door closes, turn on your vampire vision, and more often than not, you will see the enemies are running at the door, and you can actually hit them through the door. So again, before you gain attention of the enemies, you open the door, you see the enemies, you lock onto one, and then take a few steps back. Because if you don't take those steps back, as soon as you gain their attention, sometimes the doors will close and it'll trap you inside there with them. But take those steps back, gain their attention, and the door will close between you and the enemies, and they'll be on the other side of the door, and you can just hit them. Just be aware that they can also hit you through the door, so make sure to use about a 1-2 step where you're going up, hitting through the wall, hitting the enemy, and then take a step back and just use it that way, exploit their AI of unable to open doors. And the last, and by far the riskiest strategy, is when you are stuck. As you probably figured out by now, you cannot open doors while you are drawing the attention of the enemy. And there are some enemies that can see you through the Shadow Veil ability. So what you can do is use your ultimate from a distance on the 1 or 2 enemies that can see you through your Shadow Veil, and then use your ultimate on the enemy that can see through your Shadow Veil, then use Shadow Veil and run back as far as you can. And the idea here is, in more often than not cases, they will only follow you to a certain distance, because the enemies that can see you, the enemies that can't see you will only go to your last known position and then kind of search around a bit before returning to their patrols. And the enemy that can see you through the Shadow Veil was busy, and they will usually only go as far as the other enemies that can't see you through the Shadow Veil. Now, this is not flawless and it is risky, but especially if you're on a pacifist run, you're not killing anyone, you're under leveled, this is one of the safer ways to handle the enemies. And that's it. 4 basic tips on how to play Vampyr like a coward. And if you suck at video games like me, if you're not a Dark Souls master god, then these strategies really save your butt. See you next time.